What was your "fuck this shit I'm out" moment? I was hired as a temp. On day 91 I was told that they in fact didn't have to hire me after 90 days and they were gonna keep me on as a temp. I clocked out for lunch and never went back. I was on the third date with this guy the first really liked. We started making out on his couch. Things started steaming up and that's when it began. The baby voice. He couldn't stop talking to me in a baby voice. I was out. Some young woman and an old lady were arguing about stolen underwear in our communal laundry room. Young woman called for her cracked out boyfriend who came running in with a gun drawn screaming bloody murder. Noped right out. Then moved out that weekend. I was about 17 and lived in a rural area. Used to hitchhike everywhere. One day I'm in the back of a car. Two guys up front. They're talking kinda quiet. After a minute or two I hear one say, "Okay, but this time we'll go somewhere else." Then he looks in the mirror at me. I looked away out the window. Proper shitting my pants. As we went through a village we had to stop at a junction and I blurted something about a friend living nearby and I opened that door and ran. Probably nothing in it but I still get chills remembering it. I was a temp worker in a factory that made mayonnaise. During my break I get a call from my mom's work. She's had 5 to 6 strokes at the same time. I went to my supervisor and told him what happened. When he replied with, "Can't you wait until your shift is over?" I took off my uniform and left the building without another word. For those who are interested, doctors told me my mom only survived because her coworkers reacted fast and because the clumps of blood cutting her blood flow to her brain were rather small. Edit. Thanks for my first ever awards. I was working as a network engineer and due to mismanagement by owner who took lavish trips every 3 months. With family and kids friends, he had a payroll shortfall. His solution was to reduce my medical benefit which included my family to just me. Then 3 months later reducing my salary by 30%. When he told me he also said that he expects me to work 50 to 60 hours a week until profits improve. Then said, "What do you think?" I said, "I quit." I worked for him 13 years. He has called many times to get me to help with special projects for his clients. I have politely refused. When my boss told me I didn't have the nerve to quit my job. Handed my notice in 10 minutes after he said it. I was roofing and getting paid by the day. After a few months I asked to get paid piecework. My pay for that week was about double and the boss said he had to put me back to daily rate next week. I said goodbye and started my own business. When 8th graders had me crying into my pillow every night and drinking wine every time I could. I quit teaching and joined a lab. Recently worked for a dentist who was committing all kinds of insurance fraud. Now I'm as honest as they come. And this wasn't okay with me. Especially knowing my name would be on some of the correspondence. Add to that, this guy was a complete jackass. He thought nothing of berating me in front of patients. I've been doing what I do for a lot longer than him. And that kind of disrespect I won't tolerate. I left for lunch. Sent a text saying I was done and I went home. My ex-wife's best friend informed me of my ex-wife's plan to divorce me as soon as I retired from the military and take half my pay with her. Filled for divorce. Went through 2 months later. Me and my brother were chilling outside a 7-Eleven talking to a homeless guy and he offered to take us into an alley and let us try some crack. Still not sure if he wanted to rob us. Let us try his crack. Or let us try his crack LMAO. I was working retail while in uni. I had booked the weeks that were leading up to my finals off as a time to study. They approved. Then. They said, no time off during holidays. They had changed their mind. New policy they said. But they had approved my time off before they decided on such policy. I had dealt with similar things other holiday times as well. But this time. I had enough. What did I do? Well, I gave my 2 weeks notice. And didn't show up to the next shift. Or the shift after. Fuck them. My policy. New. When I was passed over for a job for a second time at my place of employment, they hired someone with about a 1/10 of the experience and half the education. Twice. I resigned the following month. Found a much better job. Got a raise. And cut my commute by 75%. They didn't think I would leave and tried to talk me out of it. These places will wring you out and suck you dry if you let them. Invest in your people and they will work extra hard for you. Don't invest and watch you best and brightest walk out the door. Set the Wayback Machine to the year 2000. All of my friends threw a millennium party. Apparently it was a rager. Nobody tells me about it at all. Because the mother of my child is bringing her side guy to it. Finally, a couple weeks later, one of them tells me that it even happened and what went down. Wrote the whole lot of them off. Spoke to almost none of them again. Best thing I ever did. My boss was emailing me non-stop on a Saturday night about a project. It got so stressful I ended up having a panic attack and going to the hospital. I didn't even wait until Monday. I quit on Sunday and dropped off my computer and my resignation letter. College roommate and I were in a Mexican border town. Walking half drunk back to Texas when a guy in an alley opened a door and told us to come on in. Free beer. Beautiful women. My roommate started into the room. You could see a couple girls across the room. As soon as I hit the doorway, I caught a glimpse of several guys with their backs up against the wall to the left that we couldn't see from outside. I grabbed roommate by the collar and we ran back to the border. There were a lot of kidnappings in that area in the mid-90s. Just finished setting up my tent in some woods in Croatia when a man in camo ran out from the woods across the street and re-entered the forest a few feet from me. I said hello to him and he crouched down, staring at me silently. Then a group of similarly dressed people came out from across the street and ran past us further into the forest. Assuming they were going to come back while I was asleep and murder me, I broke down my tent and hitchhiked to a motel. Few years ago, walking around at 3 a.m. chain smoking cigarettes and feeling sorry for myself. Sit down at a park and approached by an older gentleman. Tells me he just got out of work after a very long day. Sure. We chat for a few minutes. Starts asking me about my father. Not liking where it's going. Sure enough, he asks me if I want to suck his cock. Nope. CYA. Bye. Guess I looked like I was out trolling for some daddy. When I got accused of stealing $25 from the safe at the Subway I worked at. Even after they showed me the video of me counting every bill in front of the camera. To avoid accusations. And putting it all back without the cams losing even an inch of sight on those bills. If I was going to steal, it would be more than $25. Edit. B somehow got entered wrong. My first job was at a grocery store and my department manager was a fucking asshole. One day he was throwing a fit in the back room and threw a box of red wine vinaigrette dressing to the ground as I was walking past. Broken glass and nasty smelling dressing all over the place. He just turned. Named me and said, "Clean this shit up." To which I was like, "Nah. I'm out." A while back I was getting my food at a McDonald's drive-thru after school. This McDonald's shared half the building with a gas station. Around the edge of the gas station there were large bushes. I glanced between two pumps near the road outside and see a sketchy dude loading an R while frantically glancing in random directions. He looked like he was on something, and let's just say I got the hell out of there. I don't think he ever shot anybody. But it was still scary. Worked at Walmart. Really busted my ass to get something done, was supposed to get help, no one showed. Upsetting but typical, but at the end of the day instead of a thank you they threatened to write me up over some cardboard I forgot. Had a better paying job before the end of the month. The begging as I walked out the doors that last time was priceless. My mother told me I was a waste in her life, 10 years ago. Now I've been living by myself for 10 years. Am married and about due graduate.